Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at the Punla Coffee Table. We're here for one of our chats around the coffee table with myself, my wife Judy, and Joy, and we're going to address some questions. So sit back, get comfortable, and we'll have a chat around the table. Why were you born where you're born? Because I think this is one that people grapple with. Why were you born in the Philippines versus why was I born in Nebraska? You know,
God has purpose.
why does someone have a silver
God
spoon
said
in
so.
their mouth and the other person gets dirt?
God said so.
Well,
It's-
that's
Well, it's one of those. It's
it's
just
the
like
potter and the clay
well,
concept,
it's
right?
one of those. You're not God. It's not your. It's not. It's not your choice.
No, it's not. It's
It's
out of your
It's
pay grade. Out of your pay grade.
But
People
you don't get to make. It's God that gets to do the making, so He can choose how He does the making. Okay.
right,
the thing
right.
is, we think we can do better than God. That's the problem.
Can't even do it.
It's like, look at your life. Your life is always messed up. Do you think you can do better than God? That's crazy.
Well, and I would take it a step further. Everybody's life is messed up. The person you oogle, if you're studying the province in the Philippines and you think about the fat American setting in Texas, we're just as screwed up as the person over there. We have different problems. It's not that we don't have problems. It's just a different problem. And God knows exactly the way you were supposed to be made. You're beautifully and wonderfully made, right? It's you're perfect in His eyes. You're made for a purpose, and He put you where you're at for a reason. Yep. And I think as Christians, we have that hope and that assurance that we know that there's a plan behind the things that are going on, whether it's having your house crushed by a super typhoon or a tornado or disease or any of those things. Those are things that God's going to use for His purpose.
Oh, like example though. I mean, as you walk closer with God, it's you tend to look at problem or evil things as not as you used to look at it. It's I remember before I thought as like, yeah, I surrender everything to God and money, no problem. If God asked me to give this much of money to a certain individual, I have no problem with that. Uh, but then I realized that God put us in the situation where I realized that it's like, no, I haven't really surrendered everything to Him. I remember when you told me before that it's like, hey, there's no job in the pipeline. You tend to have like jobs from January to December, the year before it happens. And so now it's like there's nothing, there's no job. And so I was like, I was in distress for 3 months. I could not sleep. I'm like, God, what we should do? Should I start working overtime now? Should I pick up more jobs? Or, honey, can you start throwing your resume out there and look for jobs now? And so, but anyways, so now I think of it as like whatever is needed to grow you. You might think that as like, it's like hardship or evil, whatever. I tend to say bring it on if it's I know if it's gonna benefit me in the end.
If it's something that God thinks you need to learn, then
Bring it on.
It's one of those.
I am
He
not
brings
I'm
he,
not
he brings you to the valleys for a purpose too.
I'm not gonna shy on like praying, Lord, please don't let this hardship come on me. No, I say bring it on, whatever I need.
give me the strength to endure and learn whatever the lesson is you
I
need
need
to
to learn.
learn. Yeah, I mean the job one that you brought up, obviously that was, that's one of those gifts of God to test you in a way that doesn't necessarily crater you. It's just it's something
So
that
merciful.
is a stumbling block. I mean, I struggled with it just as much as you probably did, but it allowed us to rely on God. I work as a consultant. I don't ever look for work. It just comes, and it comes as God sees fit for it to provide, and we just trust. And there's no better way to live than to just say, okay, Lord,
I need the rain.
it's
Or, or, or
it's up
go.
to you. I will do what you ask me to do. Through whatever means that is, he communicates to us and tells us what it is the next thing we need to do. And our charities become the same way, right? We don't always know what we're planning on doing the next week or the next year, but you wait on the Lord, and if you truly wait on the Lord and listen for him, I know he speaks because I can hear it. It's so clear, even though it's not audible. Going back to the question about why were you born where you're born? People struggle with this. When we know the people in the Philippines that we deal with, I've heard this question. Why? Why am I here instead of someplace else? You asked that question of me once.
I did. I did. I asked you before. It's like I didn't choose. You guys are lucky. I didn't choose to be born in Philippines, and you guys were just born here. But looking at it now, it's like no, I wouldn't
I
exchange
wouldn't
it
trade
for
it.
anything. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. It was hard life, but I've learned so much, good lessons, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Oh, it's one of those.
It made you who you are.
God develops your character through the road that He takes you.
Well, and I think as humans, we get a little too concerned about our comfort in the moment is maybe a way to put it instead of looking at the bigger picture. Because obviously it's not comfortable to be uncomfortable. Okay, you get hungry when you don't have food. You get cold if you don't have proper shelter. You get embarrassed if you don't have proper clothes. Those are all real things. But in the bigger picture, are they a big thing?
No, not
Yeah.
really.
They're, and I think it's being able to focus on the bigger plan and trust that God actually has a bigger plan is one, that's how you persevere. That's how you can get through those troubles of life, knowing that there's going to be something.
And God has a plan for you. If you, He knows what's going to happen in the future. He knows everything. And it's like if He put you on that certain place, that's where your purpose is. And and He knows better than you. So you can have that trust. If you really trust God, He's for you, and He's not there to harm you. He's there to prosper you. Even in your
You
your
don't see it as
situation of like being poor, you know?
Well, and I think, obviously being 54 years old, I've had a little bit of life now, and I can look back at the things I was choosing for myself. And if that had succeeded, it would have been a catastrophe for me. And I think if you look back at the 6 months, 6 years, at things that you thought were the thing that you really needed back then that you didn't get, are you better off today because you didn't get it? I always go back to my sports. I always thought when I was young I was going to be a professional athlete, and God slammed my ankle in the door, not literally but figuratively, and I got injured, so I had to completely change my path. It was the best thing that could ever happen to me. Uh, Not only professionally, but spiritually, I got stronger because of those disappointments. And it's a little thing in the grander scheme of things. But I think we need to always look for what do they say, the silver lining on the cloud, so you can see beyond your immediate discomfort and look to what's going to be.
Well, the discomfort, I have not much problem with that because see, I came from a third world country. It's not a problem.
it's
It's not
just
a
life.
problem. It's just life. It's not a problem to be hot, to be
Life is a
sweaty,
grind.
and it's just that's life. It's a lot harder for people in America. That's one of the reasons why I don't trade my growing up in Philippines to being an American,
Well,
to be born here.
we're not very well prepared for the troubles and trials that may be coming our way if you follow what's going to happen in the end days, if we're nearing that. And, another one for me was recently when I got sick and I had the kidney stones. That extreme pain experience that I had wasn't very pleasant. I would not want to do it again. But uh, I haven't seen it yet, but I know there's going to be a purpose for whatever that experience was. Uh, the pain is still fresh in my mind. It makes me wince even to think about. But I think even though that was a miserable 24 hours, there's got to be a purpose to it because I'm a child of God. And I think when you're going through something like that, it gives you. It's not just encouragement. It gives you. I keep always coming back to this word assurance. It's like you can have peace in the midst of the storm because you trust in the person that has control of everything. Even though it's not comfortable, it doesn't make any sense. But 10 years from now, I am certain if I'm still here, there's going to be sense. And if I'm not still here, somebody else will be able to make sense out of it. I think that's the real gift of God as being one of his followers, is being able to be comfortable in whatever circumstances you're in.
Not comfortable, but accepting.
Accepting. Maybe that's a better word. Or like what Paul said.
I've learned to be content.
Content. I think content is the right word.
Whatever situation I'm in pain. I'm in I'm hungry.
I'm content.
Yeah, I think instead of comfort, content is probably the right word. And I think that's what the reason we have peace is because we have contentment, because we trust.
Yeah,
we trust in the one that has control.
The future.
And it's a temporary thing, that's for sure. It's not going to be forever, and
Kind of like that thing right there.
Which one?
I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. So I can be at peace.
That's excellent, because it's true, and I recognize that today is not everything, and in fact, it's a very small thing in the grander scheme of things. Eternity is a very, very long time, and today's discomfort or inconvenience is probably not going to be a big impact on me forever.
Yeah.
It may be a moment that makes for great conversation and character development.
It's not going to be forever, whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the message that if I was going to convey one to anybody that's listening is whatever you're going through, it's not forever.
Mm-hmm.
If you trust in Jesus, this is not all it is.
Yeah, and he will see you through it. So if you learn how to trust in him.
Yeah, even if it's, a disease and you're dying from a disease. Again, I'll go back to my personal experience recently. Yeah, even if you're hurting, you experience pain from your cancer-related issues. I was in the hospital with COVID thinking I wasn't going to make it. But I think each of us had that. There was a peace about it because we know this is not what it's all about. This momentary discomfort doesn't change my level of contentment because I trust in the one that actually has control over the event. Well, thanks for joining us today at the Punla Coffee Table. I hope you enjoyed our chat around the table. If you have some ideas of some questions you'd like for us to chat about, please send them to us. You can leave comments here or on our website, or you can email me directly. We really appreciate any of your feedback. But until next time around the Punla Coffee Table, God bless everyone.